talk to us about her faith journey here on Finding the Faith every Tuesday at 7 p.m. where we explore what matters. How are you doing, Britta?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. My phone just alerted me that we are live. So that is a great reminder to make sure I put that on silence. So anyways, what are your first memories of religion?
I don't have any memories that aren't, to be honest. I just grew up with it, and I remember praying the prayer with my mom when I was like 3 years old. um, I just yeah, I obviously I was too young to understand it at
Mhm.
the time, but it seemed right, and yeah.
That's wonderful. So you got to, grow with Jesus as you grew. That's so awesome.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
love that. So reflecting on your faith journey, from itty bitty birdie, how have your beliefs evolved over time?
Okay, so I really didn't question my faith at all
Hmm.
until I was. I think I started struggling a little bit when I was in my late teens
Hmm.
because some things just seemed difficult in the Bible, like the things that they don't always talk about in church.
Yeah.
Um, the harsher side of God, I guess. Um, at least not in the churches I grew up in.
Hmm.
Um, Now they didn't shy away from sin, which is good because I know there are a lot of churches going in that direction. But
Oh, for sure.
yeah, there was a solid sense of responsibility, but there wasn't emphasis on God's wrath and some of the other things that are kind of necessary to the whole picture. So when I
Hmm.
started reading the Bible more and more on my own in my teens, there's stuff it was hard to grapple with. And then I think my early 20s, I actually started totally questioning it. Like, how do we know it's Jesus? How do we
Hmm.
know Christians are right? And I went through that whole thing.
Was there a certain piece of evidence, during that journey for you that you found really compelling or really helpful?
I wouldn't say that so much as just after going through the questioning,
Hmm.
just kind of a pervasive sense that it was true, that the faith was just, I guess the faith was given to me to be able to believe and to no longer go back and forth and question. And it's like, no, it's just true. I just had that assurance.
That makes sense. It was more of like that piece of God that like surpasses all understanding.
Mm-hmm.
With okay, that makes sense. That's beautiful. I love that. So could you share an experience that deepened your understanding of the Christian faith in a particular aspect? Because I know that we have so many wonderful members of this community, and I know we're all at different phases of our spiritual journey and our walk with Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who are maybe beginning their journey, is there a specific thing that can help them to understand their Christian faith or the faith that they're trying to attain?
Oh, okay. So to answer the first part, there've been a number of things where I just really felt like um, I felt like God was kind of revealing Himself to me in a way where I really sensed His presence, or I felt like I was discovering something new, and it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly. When I was 15, I kind of had this experience of just kind of being overwhelmed by God's presence and just feeling like this pull in my life
Mhm.
to follow Him in a deeper way. Um, and then when I was in college, there were some really big ups and downs. I only went for a year, but
Mhm.
it was at a Christian college, and just got exposed to a lot of different points of view in Christianity. And I don't think that's really answering your question, but then I we had in my 30s, we had a cat that my husband and I just absolutely adored, and she ended up um, going into acute on chronic kidney failure at
Oh no.
not even 4 years old.
That's so
And
sad.
it was really rough. And long story short, my husband just felt like he was supposed to pray over her and that if we had faith, God would heal her. But I mean, the vet had given her a few days left to live. Like when we discovered it was that advanced.
Mhm.
So she was not supposed to survive more than a week. And we ended up having her for 10 years after that.
Wow. That's amazing. Praise
Yeah,
Jesus.
it was really beautiful. And there's a lot more to that story,
Mhm.
but yeah, suffice it to say, like just seeing that happen so kind of vividly, like
Yeah.
there was no reason it should have happened that way. No natural reason, no natural explanation.
Mhm.
Um, and so it was, and that happened two more times throughout her life where usually the other one of us was doubting. And then, like the first time it was my husband who was like, no, I really think God's going to heal her. Second time it was me telling him, I really think God's going to heal her. And um, I don't even know if I want to share this part of it, but I feel like it's important, even if people don't believe in it, even if they think
Yeah.
I'm a heretic. But I didn't grow up charismatic by any stretch. But the second time that our cat Riddles was sick,
Mhm.
I just like laid hands on her and I just started like speaking in tongues. And I
Wow.
don't,
Okay.
to this day, I don't know if that was actually tongues or if it was just a manifestation, not
Mhm.
manifestation, but of just my just passionate feeling. But I just started, it just started flowing out of me. And I was like, okay. But yeah, and that was the second time that she ended up getting healed. And actually, the first time she got healed, my husband had prayed in tongues over her, which he had done before. I never had. And again, like
Mhm.
I didn't grow up being taught this at all.
Yeah.
Um, so, um, yeah, none of this is necessarily something that would help in somebody else's life to draw them closer to Christ. But I think just being open to the fact that you never know what God is going to do or could possibly do, and um, not trying to overanalyze or base uh, base it on your own experiences of, well, I really prayed that God would do this and he didn't do it, you
Mhm.
know, because I've had plenty of that too.
Yeah.
But then also not losing faith that he could do miraculous things. And sometimes
Absolutely.
it's just bringing things together at just the right time. I mean, there's so many ways that he works, but yeah.
Yeah. That is so wonderful and beautiful. I'm so happy about your cat. I know not too long ago, it was like actually during the height of the pandemic, that our cat Jazz, he got really sick. He ended up accidentally, basically there was a whole incident, and his kidneys started having really really bad problems, and we took him into the
Mm,
doctor, the vet, and the vet was like, oh, we're gonna have to put him down.
mm,
As you guys have seen on the last stream when you gave a rumble rant, the very many generous rumble rants, Jazz is doing great. That was in 2020. This is 2024. We were,
awesome.
yeah, we were praying. We were reaching out to like holistic vets, the whole nine. Like, putting colloidal silver in his water, doing all of the things.
Wow.
So I know how, intense that can be when a pet that you really love, who's like truly a member of the family, gets sick.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, she had stopped eating and drinking. Her body had stopped producing urine.
Hmm.
Just everything it was like shutting down. It was time for it to go. And the only thing that was odd was that she was so alert. She
Hmm.
hadn't really gotten lethargic. She wasn't feeling well, but she hadn't gotten lethargic like she should have for not eating, not drinking, and being like in complete shutdown. And but yeah, it was like after everything had shut down in those functions that we were about ready to give up hope that first time. And then, yeah, we just kept praying and praying. And then over the course of the weekend, like her bladder suddenly started working again, and her, she started eating. And it was just like, it was amazing.
That is so amazing. I know that we were like, okay, is this vet like actually telling us the truth? Like, what's going on? We like looked at all of his panels. It was so intense, and we knew in our bones that he wasn't ready yet.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's just like prancing all around over here still, and
That's
we're
so sweet.
so grateful.
I love that Margot's in the chat saying that I shouldn't be talking about cats.
Yeah, Margot does that. One time I addressed her on stream about it too. Yeah, like in our Discord, we literally have to delete her cat hate speech.
Oh no, I know. I mean, she hates when I talk about cats, but here she is. When I'm on a podcast, she actually has the nerve to tell me what I can and can't talk about. How dare you, Margot?
Yeah, Margot. Um, so actually the next question comes from Margot. She wants to know why you aren't Catholic. Can you speak to your choice of denomination or faith tradition?
Wow. Just wow. I cannot believe that you were here harassing me about cats and my faith when I was just put aside everything to be on this podcast and be here for you guys and talk to you. I'm not talking to you, Frida, now. Just, I
Yeah,
of course I appreciate you, but Margot, wow. Just, you know what? I'm gonna start being not Catholic even harder.
you heard it here first, folks. So, some individuals may know you from Freedom Tunes and all of the amazing, tremendous work that you do there. You literally amazed me.
Ah, thank you.
Of course, thank you for all that you do. Among the characters that you've portrayed in Freedom Tunes, do you have one that resonates with you the most?
Oh gosh, I've gotten to do so many fun voices. Um, one of my favorite projects was Six Voices in One Cartoon, and that was insanely challenging at first because I
Mm-hmm.
had to make each one their own person, their own
Mm-hmm.
character, and be distinct, and then keep them straight. Um, Now, granted, I recorded each of their lines separately, or, like all of one line, one character's lines, and all of another character's lines separately. So at least I could be consistent there. But I had to make sure to be completely different, and then do that in six different ways, but have them all be women. So I couldn't just go into like, little chipmunk voice or whatever.
Or like massive lower register.
Yeah. I wasn't going to
Yeah.
be like, so guys, we're going to go over to so and so's house. They all had to be, they were supposed to be believable women.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that was challenging, but I'm so proud of that one. I love it. And it was so well written. And that really helped because it was such a good, it was about, it's the one where leftists rediscover biology, and they go through all these hoops to redefine what it means to be a woman, only to come to the conclusion that women are women.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good one. I recommend it if anybody hasn't seen it.
I know that they just dropped a new one today, or maybe it was last night that I saw on Twitter, but I'm really excited to go back and watch that one. Are you working on anything right now with Freedom Tunes that you're allowed to talk about, or
I can't ever talk about them as I'm doing them, but
makes sense?
as it is right now, there isn't one particular one that I'm working on. But yeah, the one that came out today with about Titanic, Jack and Rose, was really funny. I just Did you happen to see that one? It's just like a few seconds long.
I didn't get to because when I noticed it, I was on American Daily Press's Twitter account,
Mm-hmm.
and, and I was supposed to be doing social media work there, so
Oh
I didn't
yeah.
get to stop and watch it. I was like, oh.
Oh no, yeah, you'll have to. I'm tempted to just say what happens in it and give the spoiler because it's just so funny. But should I do it? Should I just say it?
You can if you want.
Okay, so for anybody who hasn't seen it, it starts out with Rose, in this case, lying on the couch clothed. So she's wearing a dress.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she's And she says, what is the line? I want you to paint me like one of your French girls. And so you see like the lines on the paper up
Mhm.
close as Jack's drawing. And then he reveals it, and it's a black guy.
That's amazing.
And I just, when they gave me that, because it was right after Gemini had gone viral, they sent me that script and I just died.
That's amazing. So I love how they always do things that are like so topical, but they're not like, here's the news, I'm gonna punch you in the face with the news. They're like, here's something amazing, topical, and funny. But it's
Mm-hmm.
actually like humorous.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. And what's really fun sometimes is I get to maybe like 4 or 5 of their cartoons that I've gotten to help write. And that's amazing. It's always fun working with Seamus, even though he is the worst on record. I will say he is the absolute worst. But he's got such a quick mind, and he comes up with so much stuff. So I got to help write. One of the most fun ones to help write was
Mhm.
it was the child-free TikTok woman. And so we just came up with all of these ridiculous scenarios of how great her life is. Like she goes outside and she picks chocolate covered strawberries off of her tree because she's single and childless. And so we did that, and that was a lot of fun to work on and to work on the writing for.
That's so unfair because I currently am not a mother yet, and I do not have chocolate covered strawberries outside on a tray. Kyle, you need to get it together. You need
Wow,
to get
you're
it
just
together.
being totally ripped off.
Right?
Are you going by Dinks yet? Do you put Dink in your profile?
No, I go by TTC because we are TTC.
What is that?
Oh, that means trying to conceive.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah.
So if you're not Dinks, I don't think you get that. You have to either be a single child-free woman, or you have to be a Dink, self-proclaimed. What is it? Dual income,
Dual income, no kids.
no kids. Yeah, and that's when you get all the benefits, and your life is absolutely perfect.
Oh, okay.
Hmm. But
So
only
for,
on TikTok.
yeah, only on TikTok. Once you take the filter off,
Hmm.
devastation, devastation
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah. That's why you should just live on TikTok. Just make your whole life making videos.
If you don't have a ring light like wrapped around your head, you're doing life wrong.
Exactly.
And that's why you're sad. That's like the secret to why you're sad and why you have problems.
Well, you can't create a perfect reality if you're actually just living real life. You know, it's ridiculous.
Big facts, big facts. So, for aspiring voice actors who are looking to break into this craft, what advice would you offer?
Okay, so um, there is an app called Fiverr,
Hmm.
Fiverr, 2 R's. Um, you can get on there. So you got to have kind of a decent mic, and you can, if you have a mic and a computer and like a little box, I still don't remember what it's called, that like connects them. You can basically just start
Hmm.
doing voiceovers for really cheap for you, and then cheap for also, and I should say also, you'll need, the audio editor. But if somebody, gets that together, I mean, for a couple $100, not including the computer cost,
Yeah.
you can just start, turning out voiceovers. And you just get on there and you sign up and you put yourself in as a voice actor and put in some samples. And then, it's no guarantee the work will start coming, but there are also a lot of resources out there to help people get started on Fiverr,
Hmm.
particularly with um, voice acting. So that's where I did a lot. I've done, I don't know, like 400 or 500 over the years on Fiverr, and then um, yeah, quite a few for Freedom Tunes, and I did a couple for Babylon Bee years ago.
That's so cool.
Yeah, yeah. So it's really fun. I really enjoy it.
That's awesome. Thank you for that advice. That's really helpful.
Yeah.
So, I know that you're a multi talented, you know, amazing, just I'm trying to find the word. The only
I
word
know
that's coming to my head
it's
right
hard to
now is
describe me.
like better than Beyonce.
Oh,
um,
go on, go on.
oh, there's a triple threat or quadruple threat. That's the phrase I was looking for. There we go. Um, so one of the other things that you also do is Britta Unfiltered, hence the name of this
Hmm.
episode. So I know ADP asked, what's your favorite part of being a contributor at ADP, and how does your faith inform your contributions?
Oh, interesting. So, hmm, I'm still new at it.
Mm-hmm,
Basically, the spaces thing just happened because I just decided to open some spaces for fun. I was
mm-hmm.
baking in the kitchen, and I was like, oh, I can't, I can't tweet, I can't chat with people. I'll just open a space. And somehow they ended up kind of evolving to where, I mean, it could just be 10, 12 people, but then some nights, like over the course of the night, we'd have like 100 people, stop in
Yeah,
or more. And so it just, people started requesting them more. And then a couple of times we even had people who came on and spoke about, um, we had one on Israel
mm-hmm.
and kind of different perspectives. And it kind of made me think. I had people talking about me doing a podcast and, oh, you should do a podcast. I had no interest in doing a podcast. I still have
Yeah,
no interest. I admire what you guys do because to me, it's just like, that just sounds like torture. Like you have to come up with like all the questions. And if you're not a natural interviewer, it's just like, ah. So, and then, possibly edit it afterwards.
yeah.
And I was just like, oh, that just
There's a
sounds like
lot that
so
goes into
much work.
it. Dude, honestly, it is, which is why I appreciate all of your supporting this and, coming out every week to watch you on Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern and giving me your Rumble rants and subscribing and giving me your support and leaving nice comments. Like, y'all, the wonderful community we have and bringing glory to God is honestly what makes all of it so worth it. Because if I didn't have a wonderful community like all of y'all in chat and you, Britta, I wouldn't be doing this.
Mm.
Honestly.
Oh,
Um,
well, I love that you are. That's so, so cool.
Thank you. So one of the other it kind of goes into this a little bit, but can you share insights on maintaining integrity and authenticity and expressing your faith in diverse contexts?
Okay, well, hmm. I, that's first, I do want to go back
Mm-hmm.
and finish ADP because I feel like I kind of
Sorry about that.
kind of left them hanging. No, that was my fault. I yeah, I was really honored that I was asked to be a part of to kind of collaborate. We're still trying to figure out how that's actually going to work because we're going to have to like somehow record the spaces because I haven't been able to get them downloaded. And so, but if we can get that going, we'll be able to provide the podcasts. And so yeah. And what was the other part of their question about how does my faith inform?
Yeah, how does your faith inform your contributions? Because I know that, whenever I tune into one of your spaces, they're absolutely amazing. They're usually on Saturday nights, guys. You're always talking about something really important, whether it's something, local, whether it's something topical, whether it's something in your own life, like, women shopping and how that ties into modesty and beauty and culture. You're always talking about something, through a really unique and introspective world that like lens. So how
Mm.
does your faith inform your contributions?
I I mean, I'd like to have something eloquent to say. I just get on there and I just talk, and I think there are things that I feel so deeply convicted about,
Mhm.
um, that I couldn't pinpoint exactly how or why, but I just yeah, basically, I have a hard time not being authentic, I think, and so maybe that ties into the other question you were asking, but, um, I I just if I don't have anything to say on a topic, I just listen, and that's one of my favorite things about doing spaces is because there's always people who want to talk and there's
Yeah.
always things to say and the conversation like I kind of just let it go where it's going to go. I don't try to direct it because honestly, I feel like the people in the space have way more to contribute than I do. And I really enjoy that. So I think if my faith informs it in any way, it's that I maybe just trying to continue to have the humility of, like, okay, I've got a lot of followers comparatively, especially to where when I started,
Mhm.
but that doesn't really mean anything. It's like, I'm glad that people like to follow me and it's really great, but I'm not, there are people with absolutely tiny accounts that have way more eloquent and amazing insights than me. And I think like that has been humbling
Mhm.
to, see that like just step back and let other people talk and listen to what they have to say. So, yeah, maybe that. I hope that answers the question a little bit.
It does. And I know there's so many really amazing moments that have come from um Kyle in chat is saying spaces is chaos sometimes, which yes.
Oh,
But
yeah, the chaos is insane.
there's so many amazing moments that come from that. I know a couple weeks back, I was talking to Faith. It was so funny. Because I was like, you should do a space about classical literature. Because I thought that'd be really cool. But I was telling her how hilarious it was with the Australian and how he was, a little bit drunk. And then we got into
Just a
the
little.
into the whole kangaroos and the Great Emu War and everything.
Oh gosh.
Oh, that was so funny.
That's one of my favorite things about my spaces is that you really don't know what's going to happen. And they aren't always eventful, but they're always funny.
That's so true. And I always walk away learning something too,
Mm.
which is really awesome.
Oh, I love that. That makes me happy.
S
And then what was the other thing that you had asked about authenticity and
Yeah, so can you share insights on maintaining integrity and authenticity and expressing your faith in diverse contexts? Because I know that you're such an amazing and larger voice. So how do you go about doing that, with grace and humility?
something that I've learned is I think when I was younger, I really wanted to present a certain image, and it wasn't to be fake. I wanted it to be real,
Mhm.
but it also made it where I wasn't totally being human either, and just learning to be imperfect with people and just I've learned that a lot from other people where I feel like the there is so much authenticity among the community that I'm in
Mhm.
that I feel like there isn't this need to be any certain way, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it all started where I joined Twitter and I was conservative, but I disagreed with conservatives on a lot of things with COVID, and I ended up
Mhm.
coming around to their point of view. But they still took me in, and it was like we were able to fight it out. And with the exception of one or two people who did block me at times, we were able to, and we still stayed friends.
Mhm.
We were able to get through it, and that's something that I think authenticity is so crucial. This is something I hate to say anything nice about Jeremy Boring ever, but he has really like I've really learned from him to just as much as we'll tease him and tell him to be wholesome, and we're only half joking. Um, I do like that he just is who he is. Where I feel like other people in the media or behind the scenes in the media, like
Mhm.
they're more concerned with presenting the image and then cleaning up, you know, behind the scenes here and there. I feel like Jeremy
Yeah.
just puts it out there and he's just okay, but this is me, and I really value that. And I think that has he has been one of the people who I've I've learned that from over time. Don't tell him I said anything nice about him. I will not be able to show my face again.
I won't. I doubt he even knows I exist, never mind have a podcast. Let's be real here. But I feel that so much. That's been definitely a learning curve for me personally too, being in the kind of content creation space, because there are some people who you get close to them and you realize, oh, okay, I think I'm more friends with your, like, who I perceived you to be versus who you actually are. And there's nothing necessarily like wrong with that. Like, you're not like a bad person or anything. It's just the values that you convey through your content versus like who you show up with in our life. Like, that's very, very different. And some,
Mm,
like, other people, they're absolutely like amazing. You're like, oh, okay. Like, whether you're, doing something in front of a screen or not, you're literally copy paste, same person. That's awesome.
hmm.
But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
and then you'll see too, like where people come across as worse. I think that's where I laugh about Jeremy because he'll almost make himself sound worse. I
Mhm.
mean, he is really bad, but it's I think it's that's something I used to be way more polite on Twitter, and I've gotten a lot more blunt
Mhm.
and harsh. And in person, I think I'm nicer than I am on Twitter. But I think it's just yeah, like there's a place for being polite and nice, and then there's a place for just putting it out there. And but I think we can still be very, very honest and still have grace and mercy, and that will come through to the people who take the time to see it.
Absolutely. That's so true. And I think, navigating that has been definitely a learning curve in trying to, and then the whole aspect of like, no, I really am this nice. Because
Uh-huh.
there's so many fake people that are like, oh wow, she's so fake. It's like, no, I'm literally doing a happy dance that you achieved that over there in my bedroom like a silly girl.
Mm,
I'm like, you go, girl, you got this.
that's awesome.
But I think being able to, be a nerd and just be who I am and kind of come to my community and be like, hey guys, I don't know a whole lot about this. I'm still learning has really
Mm.
informed my own content personally.
Oh, that's so cool.
Because people have been like, there are some people who I like really admire and respect. Some of them are in chat tonight. They've reached out and they're like, it's so amazing watching you, being almost a year in to your podcast and watching how your walk with Christ has, changed you over time. And that's just like so beautiful that you're allowing everybody to see that.
Oh, that's so neat.
I
I
know, like
love that.
it literally made my entire week.
That is so cool.
Oh,
Well, and I've grown too, like just congratulations, by the way.
thank
I had
you.
no idea you'd been going that long. That like the time has just flown.
It really has. I think it'll be a year on May 11th.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I found too like that. Just I've seen, I've I just I want to just pick on Margot again. I don't even know if she's still listening, but she just I feel like we have gone through so much ups and downs and
Mhm.
conflict and yet just been able to still be friends. And that's something that can be challenging to navigate on Twitter because
Yeah,
I'll go
for
through
sure.
times where I'm like totally trusting people and then I get hurt and then I'm totally not trusting them and
Yeah.
then I and but and then ultimately like sometimes you realize okay I was right in the first place and sometimes you're like I was right later but it really is tricky when you don't have that face to face all the time and
Yes.
but it's also very rewarding because I feel like I don't know about you but I feel like I don't well actually I do open up with people a lot in real life too
Mhm.
but I feel like people are more receptive to it online and are more likely to in some ways be themselves than they would be in their everyday life where they you can't just start talking about whatever you
Yeah,
know
I totally feel that. That makes exact sense.
hmm so I feel like it can be a more authentic and meaningful experience as much as people will say oh online friends aren't your real friends it's like that no, I don't think you understand totally what friendship is because I've made some amazing friends online.
Exactly. And I've been there for some of, my online friends' like biggest milestones. And it's just been so amazing. Like
Oh, wow.
one of my best friends, I actually met her on Twitter. And the first time we talked, we had a 5-hour phone call.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, like she grew up in Africa and we had so much in common. It was like insane. I
Oh,
think
that's so
Hannah's
cool.
right in chat where she says, I think you just have to find the right people.
Mm.
That's so true.
Hmm.
So, in your opinion, kind of, in the same line, how do you think that Christians can contribute positively to societal discourse and change?
Um, in real life, online, or
Both, either, in your
hmm.
experience.
I mean, I think being willing to say the harsh truths when necessary, but not relying on that as your personality, because I do see that in real life at it seems like the people who are willing to talk about their faith, um, they kind of have this, they have to stay in kind of this judgmental, separated bubble to protect
Mhm.
themselves. So then they end up kind of harsher and more judgmental. And then the rest of them don't want to like ever say anything unless it's to other Christians. So I think it's finding a balance of just like a graceful approach to never being afraid to talk about your faith, but not making it like this challenge where it's like, okay, how many people can I talk about my faith with? And then that's okay, but
Mhm.
you don't want it to ever become like a performative thing or a
Yeah,
gold
virtue
star.
signaling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I like that. Yeah. Not virtue signaling even to yourself to feel like, oh, I did this great thing, but just like
exactly.
making it just a real part of who you are.
I think that's where, growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, that sharing of the faith got a little bit lost because even if we were like talking to somebody in a grocery store for like 5 to 10 minutes, that we're like, oh, why are you in a dress? It's like, oh, I'm a Jehovah's Witness and here's all the things about Jehovah and blah, 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 blah. And then
Mm,
you'd go and you'd make a note of that and you'd write down like your little time on your slip every month because it was such a works-based salvation. And I think when we feel like we have to do like, kind of that misapplication of storing up treasures in heaven
mm.
is really, really, I think that can really actually harm our relationship with God. What do you think?
Well, first, I'd forgotten you were Jehovah's Witness, so that just fits in so perfectly with this. But and I also I don't think it's wrong to, especially with younger people, like to kind of put those challenges before them to kind of just like get their feet in the water. Um, but yeah, I do think that like it really needs to be based on pleasing God and not racking up points.
Yeah. Um, Ooh, I love what Nancy says here. She says, I prefer to go with preach the gospel always. When needed, use words.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that a lot. Also, in the chat, Caveat Ties has a question for you. He saw that the Daily Wire mentioned you in their last backstage. What did you think about that?
I think that maybe he's mistaken. I watched the whole thing. I don't remember being mentioned, but uh, Bad Quality Memes got a shout out. Is that
Yeah, she
maybe
did.
what he's thinking about? If you could remember what it was about, I'd love to be wrong and find out they they mentioned me. That would be cool.
I thought they mentioned a couple people, and you might have been one of them.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah,
Margot would know.
okay. I love her. She's a sweetheart.
She's okay. I love her, but not like that.
Um, um,
For anyone who doesn't know, like that's our ongoing joke. I love you, not like that. And she's like that. And I say, not like that.
yeah, you guys are besties,
Eh.
or at least that's what Margaret told me.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh,
She wants to marry me. I told her I'm not gay.
you can't say I blame her. Kidding, kidding, kidding. I'm
Love it.
happily married to Kyle. Um, so, what advice would you give to Christians facing uncertainty or adversity in their lives?
Just pray about it. No, I'm just kidding. That's actually one of my husband's pet peeves is when people like immediately just pray about it.
Valid.
Um, I gosh, that's too deep for me. I think I'd have to know their direct thing. I don't have anything profound. What's your advice for them?
I think that sometimes we can be a bit unsure, of our paths and different things like that. And one of the things that's really helped me is to just do the next right thing.
Mm,
Because even small steps forward in the right direction while we're like feeling out God's direction in our lives can be really helpful. At least that's what I've noticed so far.
I like that.
Are there any misconceptions or stereotypes about Christianity that you encounter, and how do you address those?
Um, oh, okay. Well, I mean, as much as I want people to have the best possible view on Christianity in a positive way,
Mhm.
one of the stereotypes that we see so often, I'm sure you see it all the time, is that Jesus was not judgmental. He just loved on people. He was tolerant. He loved sinners. And it's like, okay, you have not even read the Bible. Like you can't he said to drop everything and follow him. Anything outside of that, he didn't tolerate. Now that didn't mean he went around treating people like crap, but our God is not known for tolerance. He's known for accepting people from all different backgrounds, all different beliefs. He's not going to turn somebody away because they aren't good enough. But
Mhm.
he had no point. He says he's a jealous God. He flat out tells us that. And I think it's so funny when they think it's an own when they're like, well, you know what? Christians should follow Jesus' example and you know, just love on everybody. It's like, I don't think you know what love means because love doesn't
Yeah.
mean just letting people go in their delusions and their sin and telling them it's fine. If they know they're sinning and they're working on it, like you don't sit there and punch them in the face either. But you don't go and tell people, yeah, you live your way, I'll live mine. It's all good. Because that's not the Bible. It's just
Yeah,
flat
it's
out
like
that's the furthest thing from the Bible.
it's some weird libertarian Christianity,
Hmm.
and I'm not here for it either.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's one of the things they really tried to redefine, and another one is humor. And it's just
Mm.
like, what are you guys doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
So, what role do you think humor plays in fostering connection and understanding of in like the Christian community and within like the conservative community?
Well, I think it has greatly unified us because the left has just abandoned it. Um, and so I think that and I think that it's such a relief to be able to have humor and to joke about things, even if they're, and I don't say this like in a religious sense, but even if
Mhm.
they're irreverent, even if it's dark humor, even if it's off the wall, potentially offensive. I mean, it's such a relief to be able to laugh about things. Um, and
That's so true.
yeah, I feel like if not for humor, I don't think that we would have survived on the conservative side because the country is in such terrible shape. But
Yeah.
we can joke, and I've found I don't meme like I used to, but I used to my first couple years on Twitter were just memes and memes and memes, and it was such a an outlet. And I feel like that's where Daily Wire has just been so awesome is because in addition to all their honesty, like they're so funny.
They really, really are. Whether they're rapping or, you know, memeing or doing their show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, my husband will watch Matt Walsh and he'll laugh like it's a stand-up comedy routine because Matt's humor just gets him.
Yeah. Matt's humor reminds me a lot of my husband, and I think that's one of the reasons I started watching him in the first place before I really, like, back way back in the day. Back before,
Mm.
like, I really knew what the Daily Wire was.
Hmm. That's
Um,
awesome. Was that like back when he was in his car? Or no, you said it was with Daily Wire, just
yeah.
when he was, yeah.
Yeah, because I would go and I'd watch, like, the most opposing sides of things, of, like, news coverage, so that I
Hmm.
could get, like, a full and complete holistic story about what happened,
Oh, I
and
love
not
that.
Yeah, I'd be watching like Lauren Chen and some like, I don't know, communist girl.
Mhm.
And I'd be like, okay, here's the middle point. Okay. Back before knew exactly where I was politically, because growing up as a Jehovah's Witness, they teach you that you're no part of the world. So they teach you that politics doesn't matter. So they teach you that
Oh,
you don't need to know anything politically.
yeah.
So coming out of that like a decade ago was, trying to figure out which way was up and what politics I aligned with. And my husband being a massive history buff and like the most brilliant man I know, don't tell him I said that,
Oh,
was really helpful with that.
yeah. I used to do that too, and it really wasn't until I just finally realized why everybody was saying that um, the mainstream media was so bad. Because
Mhm.
to me, I still felt like, okay, I want to hear everybody's point of view. And yeah, it wasn't until the last few years I'm like, okay, screw that. I'm done with it. I need
Yeah.
to have real stuff. And or I thought it was real stuff, but when I realized like how just bogus it was, I finally started coming around. But it took a while because I really felt like it's not fair to just listen to one side.
I think that's so true. And that kind of ties into the next question that I wanted to ask you. With elections coming up, we try not to get too political on this channel, but it was something I've been kind of thinking about today since I saw a lot of online discourse about it. Do you think it's possible to be a strong biblically aligned Christian while being a Democrat?
I think only if you don't really realize, like, if you have a shallow view of what it means to be a Democrat, and it's
Mhm.
kind of you've been really taught to think that, they're more caring and whatnot.
Mhm.
But I don't think that anyone who's really strong in their faith would be able to be a Democrat. But I think that there definitely could be Christians who are Democrats who are just, they aren't in that place in their journey where they've put all the pieces together to realize like how opposite the liberals are in every way to what we're supposed to stand for as Christians. They seem to come across at first like they are more
Mhm.
Christian in certain ways.
Yeah,
If
for
you put
sure.
aside, abortion, like the
If
issues,
you
if you
leave
just
in like their marketing versus their actual,
mhm.
at least back in the day with their marketing.
Like the compassion, they're very much about helping the oppressed in their marketing. And so it does have a semblance of Christianity to it if you until you start to dig.
Yeah, that's very true. Thank you. Because I was like, I saw a lot of discourse about that today, and I was like, ooh, I should ask Britta.
Yeah, what's your thought on that?
I was kind of like thinking about it like in the back of my mind for a bit today, and I kind of came to the same conclusion because I was like, I think that if you believe that there's a party of, not necessarily historically based, like based in history and like knowing all of the, different components of all of the, not so great things that they've done, and then leaning further into not really understanding what all of the policies are, just thinking that
Mhm.
they are, the dumb little names that they give them. Like,
Mhm.
I actually had a family member who literally thought Ron DeSantis's bill was actually the Don't Say Gay bill. And I had to break it down to them. Like, it was before coffee. She just starts talking about this. I'm like, girl, I don't have coffee yet. I'm like, open the bill. Have you actually read it? She's like, no. I'm like, well, it's not that bill. And she's
Mhm.
like, it's the Don't Say Gay bill. And because they're so effective about, telling you some completely third narrative
Mhm.
that I think because of that, I can really be like, if you're dealing with the same set of objective reality and facts, then you can't be. But like if exactly, Terry says it perfectly. Only if you listen to the talking points and are also actually paying attention to the real applied politics of the Democrats. Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you. That's perfectly stated that I was trying to express.
Mhm. Well, and I saw somebody mention abortion in the chat, and look, I don't think there's any way to justify being pro-abortion from a Christian perspective, but I think it's very possible for somebody to be a Christian and to not totally fully grasp what it means to allow for choice, because I think that they see that more as like, you know, that's between the other person and God. And I realize that's super problematic, and I'm not defending that. I just think that it is possible for people to have blind spots. And with abortion, I mean, there are, the Bible's pretty clear about life starting at conception, but at the
Mhm.
same time, not everybody has read all of the Bible and knows
Yeah.
it inside out. So I think it's very, and throughout history there were people of, you know, different faiths, but, you know, believing in the God of the Bible, who believed that, you know, that a human became a human at quickening, and that's like second trimester, you know. So I
Yeah.
think that it's, we have to be fair enough to say, instead of just condemning them and being like, no, you're absolutely anti-God if you aren't very, very anti-abortion. And I think that that's misunderstanding that people, they'll tell you, and this, I get passionate about this,
Mhm.
they'll tell you that the person knows deep down. I don't know. Everybody can have blind spots. I don't think
Yeah.
everybody knows deep down that life begins at conception. I don't think they do. And if they do, it's so deep down, they need somebody to help them realize it. And sometimes pro-lifers actually kind of undermine their own ability to do that, because they will act so extreme and treat people like,
Mhm.
you're murderers, you're enabling murder. And it's like they just are like, hey, you guys are crazy, so obviously you're not a good source to listen to. And I think we do need some better voices along with the abortion, the anti-abortion movement, with the pro-life
Yeah.
movement,
You're
because I
so
think that
right.
that's there is a missing piece there.
I think part of it like because that's literally happened to me. I've had people accuse me of murder because of the fact that I was compassionate to somebody that was, questioning
Mm.
certain like facts about pro-life versus, pro-abortion. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no, I'm literally like respecting them, seeing them as a human, seeing them literally as a child of God, one of his image bearers, because all of us are,
Mm-hmm.
and going from there and working outward to, recognizing the root cause, trying to recognize and listen empathetically to where this is coming from,
Mm-hmm.
and then going in with the facts, because people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And I've like literally had to block people because they're like, you're a murderer for being nice. And it's like, oh, I mean, I knew that there was a saying called kill them with kindness, but like, I think you're getting confused.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think we can get wrapped up in the fact that we're in a battle so much that we feel like we're ceding ground if we like listen to somebody else. And it isn't always like that. I mean, you're not you're not losing in the battle against abortion by having a conversation with somebody and not telling them you're a horrible evil person for not knowing that abortion is wrong. You know,
Yeah.
people don't always know something is wrong just instinctively. I mean, I think people need to look at themselves when they feel that way, and go, what are maybe my blind spots? You know, what are things that I didn't, even when I was already a Christian, didn't realize were wrong until somebody explained it to me, you know?
Exactly. Like, I didn't understand, why IVF was wrong until I actually had people, explaining the aspects of it. And I was, out there passing out magazines with IVF on the cover, being like, is IVF ethical? It's like, I'm sorry, I didn't have time to read those.
Mm,
And actually understanding it from like a scientific perspective instead of simply a religious perspective, because
mm-hmm,
I think there's so much where they're like very intertwined, and understanding like, okay, life begins at conception scientifically. It's not just like something that I believe and have faith in, although the things that we believe and have faith in are important. It's also, this is literally what science says. This is what
mm-hmm,
God, who created us, says. This is what, science echoes, because of the fact that, like, God created the world, all the things in the world, all of the like.
mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. Well, and again, like, not to dwell on it too much, but I think that the fact that there were people who believed in the Bible and believed in God thought that life began at quickening. and that was
Mhm.
part of the religious tradition. I think we need to look at that and go, okay, well, why were they wrong? Not, well, we know they're wrong. It's like, okay, but were they all evil and bad for thinking that? And why did they think that? And how did we get to this point? Because I think that that's where we can really solidify some of what we believe and why.
That's so true. And there are certain things that sometimes you just have never had the opportunity to really dive into them because you are looking at other aspects of, faith or science or history or different things that have, the same level of importance that you were prioritizing because of your own life experience. And
Mm-hmm.
therefore didn't get to look at like other aspects of like other important things that, were on the same level. And just because of the fact that you're showing up here and now and you didn't know that before, that doesn't make you a bad person. Like sanctification, learning, growing, all of those things are
Mm-hmm.
such a process. And somebody in chat mentions that they had two grandnieces who were conceived through IVF. And sometimes I feel like that's such a wonderful, amazing, beautiful thing. And I'm so glad that they are here and that you know them and you get to meet them and like that they're part of your family. And I think that sometimes people, I'm not saying that this, individual in chat does, but I think that sometimes because people are like, oh, you think IVF is evil, so you hate them. It's like, no, like, I love them. Like, I'd love to meet them someday. I bet they're awesome. I bet they are wonderful little creations.
Mm-hmm.
And
But
you know what I mean?
oh yeah, I mean, I okay, not all Christians believe this, but I think a lot of them do, that ultimately sex is for marriage, right? So I believe that sex outside of marriage is wrong and that
Mhm.
people shouldn't be having kids out of wedlock. Does that mean those kids don't matter or that they're lesser? No.
Of course not.
So it's like, I mean, believing that someone wasn't conceived in the way that God intended has nothing to do with diminishing like their value and them as people or saying that they shouldn't exist, because God makes good out of everything. And I don't think people
Exactly.
who've had IVF should have to like just live in just absolute shame either. Like I think we could just look at it like, okay, I didn't know, and I'm not even totally convinced on it, but I'm coming around to
Yeah.
the idea. So I'm definitely not. I definitely have a problem with putting embryos on ice.
Yes. I think the biggest aspect I personally have an issue with, because I've been, researching this and, looking at like the different legislation and all the things that are like going on in Alabama and all of it. I initially, the biggest issue for me that was like, oh, okay, this is where I draw the line, is that all of these like fertilized embryos, so all of these humans at the very beginning stage, they literally get destroyed because you get, X amount, some of them like implant, some of them don't. And so it's kind of like some of them miscarry in that way. And then the ones that aren't used but are still created, so when life is created,
Mm-hmm.
they get destroyed. And that's, even though it's an out of body thing, it's like, okay, this is like the aspect where if it was done naturally, that would be miscarriage. And then the destruction of them, that is essentially an out of body abortion.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
But if you don't know all of those intricate ins and outs, how the heck are you supposed to know?
Yeah, and I think it's so easy for people not to see, an embryo outside the body as a human being. Now, should they be smarter than that? Sure, but I just think it's really easy for people to not see it that way, and especially when you grow up in a society where that's normal, and
Yeah.
the Bible doesn't talk specifically about that, so we kind of have to just take, look at it like, but God creates a human from the beginning. But I I probably shouldn't even admit my own doubts on here. I'm going to get so much hate, but I I don't know for 100% sure. I believe that an embryo is a human being. I don't know when ensoulment happens. I always look at it as happening at conception. But
Mhm.
can I state with absolute certainty that every single embryo that's on ice right now is a human being that is just in limbo? I or not religious limbo, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That is so hard for me to get my mind around, and it's not that I'm not willing to believe that, it's
That's a valid
so
point,
weird.
honestly. Like, when does that part happen? Because when you're doing something so unnatural, natural processes struggle to kind of find their find their course, I guess, or at least we struggle to understand where things happen in the not so natural course of things.
Hmm. You
Like,
know,
that's
and
such a valid point.
like, could ensoulment happen at implantation? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. So I know I'm going to get so much flack for that, but oh well.
Honestly, I think it's a really valid question because there are so many things that's like, okay, this, it's almost analogous because it's like, just like, when certain ones don't implant, it's like, okay, that's essentially like a miscarriage because there's like the whole shedding of the everything and,
Hmm.
not taking. And then there's like the destruction, which is like abortion.
Hmm.
And yeah. Also, speaking of abortion, Britta and I today were talking about one of our favorite beverages, which, if you guys haven't tried it, you definitely should. Do you want a delicious brew that shares your values too? Look no further than North Arrow Coffee. North Arrow Coffee is a pro life, veteran owned business that I am proud to have as a sponsor. Not only do they have a delicious, superior product, they also pledge to donate at least 15% of their sales to organizations that support and advocate for the preborn, help families facing crisis pregnancies, and offer healing to those who have been affected by abortion in a gospel centered way. Order North Arrow Coffee today. You can do so by going to northarrowcoffee.co. And when you use code FRIDA, FREDA, you'll save 10% off your first order.
Well done.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm also excited to get to announce. I've kind of been, it's been a work in progress, so I haven't wanted to say anything until we confirmed everybody and everybody's schedules, but I can finally actually say it now, guys. We are doing an IVF panel on March 26th. That's going to be Tuesday night at the usual showtime. And I'm so excited because we have Real Truth Cactus coming on. Our beloved Jess. We have Sam, that's pro life Sam, on if you guys follow her on Twitter. If you don't, you really should. Like, she's amazing. I've learned so much from her. We also have Emily Zanotti, who's been on the show in the
Yay.
past, and we have Katie Faust, who is the head of Them Before Us. So we're going to have an amazing discussion then, and I'm so excited for it. Don't worry, there's shows in the meantime. You'll have content, I promise.
That is amazing.
I'm so excited because we were all kind of like talking about it a few months ago, and I was like, I feel like this could be a really great panel. And then I was like, hey guys, I had an idea. And then it just kept like getting added and oh, this angle, this layer, this thing. Oh, what about this? It's like, yes, please, that'd be awesome. All of them except for Katie Faust have been guests before. So if you want to check out, if you subscribe to this channel, also make sure you hit the like button. Like, come on, it's like I got Britta here, guys. Like, that deserves a
Yeah,
like.
seriously. Come on, guys.
um, but you should definitely check that out. Check out Justice Faith Journey. That was actually my very first episode. So she did amazing. My setup wasn't quite A1 yet. Um, and then Sam and Emily Zanotti both were on as well. So that's really cool. Check those out when you're done watching this. But I'm very excited. I'm so excited I finally got to announce that. Um, but yeah,
That's super exciting.
thank you. It feels kind of surreal, honestly.
Oh, I bet.
Now, I know that this question, our wonderful, amazing chat has been so patiently waiting for, but
No, he can't
are
have
there
soup. Stop
theological
asking. Oh, sorry.
are there theological reasons why Michael Knowles doesn't deserve soup?
Um, I'm sure there are. I was not given this question in advance, and I just feel unprepared to, I don't want to speak for God. I can speak for the God King, and I think he would agree. Is that a theological reason?
Theological adjacent, we'll take it. Oh. Oh, according to Answered Seder, that in Catholic tradition there is no soup for Knowles.
Oh, well, that's great. I maybe I will become Catholic.
Oh. So I know one thing that kind of gets brought up. Oh, there's more questions in chat before we um move on. Do we have a timeline on when he can have soup?
Why would anyone think that he's going to at any point? Has he earned it? I mean, has seriously, guys. I'd like to know. No, actually, I don't want to hear your reasons for why. Michael has not even given reasons why. He just said he was hungry.
Oh. Now, another thing that I always love hearing your thoughts about, and I think I thought would be a great topic is what are some of your best tips when it comes to modesty? You and I have seen so much craziness, so much discourse, so much just wildness
Mm-hmm.
over the past few months, especially when it comes to modesty. And I've really enjoyed hearing your perspective on different things. But for our listeners, what do you think some of your best tips are when it does come to modesty?
It can be difficult because of the way clothes are made to fit and what's
Mm-hmm.
available. I was looking for shorts um, for a trip, and I just all I wanted was to not have shorts that were like, I don't know of a not crude way to say this, like you know,
Yes.
like that weren't that short. But I kind of wanted something just like midway, because I'm not like as much as people thought I was like crazy modesty, everything. I'm fine with shorts, like it's not that big of a deal. But like, I just I prefer them to not be like 2 feet above the knees,
Yeah.
and so I had a
Underwear length, practically.
really yeah. I had a really hard time finding some. Like I went all over and I couldn't find them. I mean, you can try thrift stores, but if you're having to shop new, then I think I ended up just doing cutoffs
Mm-hmm.
because then you can choose. And then but one thing I suggest is like just layer stuff. Go with thin layers because the weather's really hot, but like if something's too short, you can just wear a layer underneath it that's a little bit longer. Like you can kind of do like the tank tops and camisole shirts that are longer, and
Yeah,
there's a lot of easy ways to like still wear the stuff that's in style, but just kind of do different stuff with it, so that it's more modest. Also, it's like if you can wear shirts that are a little bit longer over, because there's nothing inherently wrong with yoga pants, but if they show, lots of, you know,
yeah,
creases and stuff, it's like, okay, so wear a shirt that's longer than your butt and then it's not an issue.
exactly.
I just think there's a lot of ways to get around stuff. um but you have to be a little creative. But what I like about that is that you can still wear stuff that's in style. You don't have to feel like you got to go just put on a jean skirt and a printed turtleneck.
Yeah, you don't have to go back to what Laurel Ingalls wilder days.
Yeah, yeah. It's easier when I can like show images. I actually
Mhm.
sent a bunch to Pearl, who was like deciding that she wanted to tell everybody how to dress, and I'm like, you don't even know how any of this works yet. You're just like speculating. And I was like, I actually could
Yeah,
help you with this. And so I sent her a bunch of DMs, just like, okay, here's what you can layer with this, here's what you can layer with that. And of course she ignored them because she doesn't really want answers. She just wants controversy. But
yes, for sure.
Pearl, if you ever hear this, you can still DM me back. If not, be ignorant. That's fine.
I think one of my best thrifts was I got these really amazing J. Crew shorts that were like 6 inches, so they went like 2 inches or so from my knees. and they
Mm,
like fit so perfectly. I was like, yes, I'm gonna keep these forever.
that's awesome.
They're so well made. If you shop there, I know there's some issues shopping there, but if you shop the sale on sale, like their final sale to like deep, deep, deep discount, sometimes they actually like give me free stuff for like my birthday and for like different coupons that I have. It's insane.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. That's probably why it's like one of my I don't do a lot of shopping, honestly, but that's one of my favorite places to go just because of the fact that and granted a lot of places all have issues, but I save so much there and actually get really good modest clothing.
Oh, I love that.
One of my other questions, I see so many people really going through the what's it called? When they're like breaking deconstruction. There we go.
Hmm.
And then some individuals who aren't, but still seem to have some deconstructionist viewpoints, especially around purity culture. And then how like the red pill kind of goes into the purity culture and like intertwines in some crazy wild ways.
Hmm. Yeah, they apply the strictest possible version of purity culture to women, and then absolutely like the worldliest possible
Yeah.
uh, standards for men. Um, so, what were you? What was your question about it?
Do you think that purity culture was a net positive?
Oh, um, okay. So I think that if it was done right, and I'm
Mhm.
not trying to sound like, I know that's such an easy answer, but I think I grew up in a way where it was done right for the most part. Like it wasn't, yeah, they talked about how, you know, it, women should save themselves, and they said it to men too. But like I remember hearing the analogy of like, you know, having something to give to your husband that's less than because you didn't wait and so on. But I never really I didn't really think that like my whole worth was based on that because
Mhm.
that wasn't like the culture of our youth group. It was
Mhm.
just more of really positively promoting being pure.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like super judgmental. I mean, I'm sure some people would have seen it that way, but I felt like we actually had a really cool youth pastor and his wife, just really great people and not like really strict or judgmental. Just they had these standards and they talked openly about how it was hard to wait. And I feel like had everyone experienced it the way I did, it
Mhm.
absolutely would have been a net positive. I think because because it was misused and it used to put people down and hurt
Yeah.
them. I think in that way, maybe there was a backlash to it, but I don't think purity culture itself was a bad thing the way it's being presented now.
Yeah. I think that the devil can really twist things that were created for good and that have a place and make them wicked and evil and vile. And a lot of what we're seeing nowadays is that very twisting.
Mm,
And that's really unfortunate when it's used to hurt people. But I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with the principles of being chaste and having self respect and
no, not at all.
being
I think
yeah,
it's a beautiful thing, and I think that
absolutely.
to say that it's harmful to encourage people to wait or to encourage them to okay, maybe you haven't waited, but it's never too late to start waiting, and then obviously purity after marriage. But the my focus, I guess, on this has always been in the in between time, the single time, and
Mhm.
I just I think it didn't fully prepare me for certain realities in life of just like that okay, that's not going to make everything perfect,
Mhm.
you know
Yeah.
um because you're still going to like it's like nothing in life is perfect. So I guess I just pictured okay, happily ever after kind of a thing in a way because they didn't you know maybe they idealized it a little bit too much. But no, like I'm so glad I waited. I don't look down on people who didn't, but I am so glad I waited. And what if I hadn't been taught this way
Yeah.
and encouraged in that way? So Yeah, I hope that answers.
Yeah. I had been talking with a friend about this not too long ago, and I want to bring up one of the points that she brought out. She said that sometimes teaching purity culture, like teaching anything, the way that it's taught doesn't necessarily mean that that's the best way it can be understood for different individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes the way it's taught can, even if it's not, inherently wrong or anything, it would be more beneficial to provide multiple explanations. And as to, I mean, of course, the number one reason to remain pure is our love and obedience to our Lord and Savior. But
Mm-hmm.
also, experiencing like the health side effects, even the emotional health side effects, where, the different soul ties due to virginity and all of that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I absolutely agree.
I thought she
Um,
was really cooking with that.
I think that's great. I feel like if people and yeah, like I that was there again. I feel like I got such a good presentation of it because it covered all of the benefits, not just spiritual, not just and it just okay. You've got you know
Yeah.
you don't have to have the baggage, you don't have to have the memories, you'll have less baggage and less memories,
Mhm.
if you didn't wait the whole time, and you'll have um a lot of firsts with your spouse, but then also yeah, the physical, um avoiding diseases, just practical things. um
Exactly. There's a
yeah
lot
I
of reasons. And like I mean, that's also like the main reason why God tells us to do things, because they're for our overall benefit.
mhm, yep, I agree. I gotta warn you, my phone is approaching death, and I don't have the splitter, so I can only like have my headset plugged in or my charger.
Makes sense. So we will wrap things up. Um, are there any upcoming projects or initiatives that you'd like to mention?
um no, I think just I'll if you guys want to follow, I think the handle is Britta No Filter. And there's no need to follow it unless you just wanted to like put on alerts for it, because the only thing you'll get from it is when there's a space coming up. You can do that. Actually, ADP wants me to say everybody should follow. So everybody follow it. I forgot. Everybody follow Britta No Filter to stay updated on when the spaces will be, and just come to the spaces if you can. It'd be really fun. They are chaotic. They are not very organized, but they are interesting.
They
They
are.
are kind of they can be an adventure for sure. We've gone as long as 9 hours before.
That night was wild. Oh
Yeah.
goodness. Also make sure you guys are following US Daily Press, and all of the links are in the description down below. Yes, Britta is based.
Oh, thank you.
Is there anything else you'd like to share or add before we conclude our conversation?
Yes, absolutely. But I will not think of it until probably half an hour from now. So,
It's okay, you're in our Discord, which also, if you, listeners and viewers, want to be in our Discord, check out the link in the description down below. We have a lot of fun there. We talk about a wide variety of faith things, life things. We just hang out, do life together. It's really, really awesome. And we sometimes, have some really fire Bible memes and all sorts of awesome jokes. But thank you all so much for coming out tonight. Love you so much. Britta, would you like to close in prayer?
oh, yeah. Yeah, get over here where it's a little bit quieter. Dear Lord, I just want to thank you so much for this opportunity. I want to pray for everyone listening that you'll touch their hearts and their lives, and anything that's going on that's stressful or sad, or any questions they're having or struggles. Lord, that you would just bring them peace tonight, and just help them to know that wherever they're at in their journey, that you're there with them, and that they can rely on you. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for that prayer, and I hope all of you have a wonderful week. Make sure, if you want to check out a really amazing Bible study that I myself have been enjoying, that you stop by Quirks of Creation's Discord. It's really, really great. If you follow Real Truth Practice on Twitter, you'll see when she announces that, but we normally do it Friday nights at 7. So thank all of you so much. All of the awesome relevant links are in the description down below, and I hope you have the most amazing night. Stay based, stay blessed.